Hello. Welcome to the February 16th edition of Success by Association Live. Today's issue is sponsored by Winston-Salem Marriott and Benton Convention Center. We thank them for their support of AENC. Today's article is written by Brian Etheridge with Leadership North Carolina and is reprinted with permission. The article is titled 3 Cups of Coffee, a model for bridging divides and fostering curiosity in leaders. Heaviness. Since March 2020, there is much we have experienced as leaders, North Carolinians, and Americans. All of us, our families, our friends, our neighbors, our constituents, have been impacted by COVID in varying degrees. During the summer of 2020, following the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and others, protests sprang up across the country and around the globe around social injustice, inequality, and police brutality. Then, on January 6, 2021, a violent insurrection took place at the United States Capitol, resulting in 5 law enforcement officers losing their lives protecting the Capitol and the certification of the election, and many more suffering injuries. For many, recounting what we have lost, what has changed, what we may have gained, and all that we have experienced over the last 2 years may be painful. For others, it may be helpful. It may be worth noticing how much we have adapted to continue to serve those most important to us. It may be helpful to reflect on how much we have learned as we have heard voices we may not have been as attuned to before the summer of 2020. It may be eye-opening to think back on all the ways we have to connect with others we may not have been aware of or capable of before COVID. Curiosity. Simon Sinek, the author of Start with Why, is one of my favorite authors. The quote below is one we reference often at Leadership North Carolina. The responsibility of leadership is not to come up with all the ideas, but to create an environment in which great ideas can happen. As leaders, it is essential that we do not pretend we have all the answers. Our responsibility is to create an environment in which great ideas can flourish. That's incredibly challenging in this environment. We have major divides within our country, our state, our communities, and oftentimes within our families. So how do we do it? I invite you to begin with one word: curiosity. I'm a big fan of curiosity. It provides a window into learning a great deal. As a former elementary school teacher in North Carolina, there were many times I learned as much, if not more, from my students than they learned from me. The sense of wonder and the curiosity of a child are remarkable things and something I encourage us all to tap into. Continuing on this theme of curiosity, one of my all-time favorite books is To Kill a Mockingbird, and one of my favorite quotes from the book comes from Scout Finch. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb in his skin and walk around it. What does it take to understand a person, to consider things from their point of view? Here are 3 ingredients to make it possible: trust, respect, and an invitation to coffee. 3 cups of coffee. For many years, John Davis of the John Davis Political Report has presented to Leadership North Carolina during our government session in Raleigh each November. During each presentation, John shares demographic data on our state, the political trends, and his observation that leaders of different political parties do not seem to understand one another as well as perhaps they once did. John reflects that not too long ago, many of these leaders would debate legislation vigorously, but then leave the halls of the General Assembly and share dinners with one another, providing time to get to know one another, to build understanding and trust. They got to know about one another's families and the lives and influences that shaped their perspectives. Today, there is, in some cases, a disincentive to reach across the aisle and build relationships with leaders on the other side. John has a solution. These leaders need to have 3 cups of coffee with someone who sees the world differently than they do. It is a lesson I think we should take to heart and put into practice. There's a simple structure for this, but there are 2 ingredients essential for this to work: trust and respect. First cup. Invite someone to coffee and ask that they share with you their life story. What events shaped their views? Who were the leaders who shaped their thinking? What memorable experiences impacted them most? Your job is to simply listen without responding or rendering judgment. It is a freeing experience to simply listen without having to plan for a response. Take it all in. Second cup. This time, switch roles and you share your story while the other person listens. Third cup. At this point, you begin to see where you have areas of commonality and where there may be differences. Begin the process of exploring what you have in common and build on that, ensuring you are adhering to the themes of trust and respect. You have now invested 3 cups of coffee in getting to know someone, and they have done the same for you. Relationships like these are the foundation to positive change and realizing our state's potential. Leaders need to be in community with one another and understand leaders who see the world differently than they do. It is awful hard to dismiss someone once you get to know them, once you have laid the foundations of a relationship built on trust and respect. Next steps. As you reflect on this, I invite you to pull out your phone and send a text or an email to someone who sees the world differently than you do, whose life experience is different than yours. Invite them to coffee and listen. Ask them about what shaped their values, what experiences impacted their perspective, who in their life impacted their views. Listen with curiosity and lean in to build trust and respect. Continue to share this practice with others and invite others to coffee. There is no limit to where this could lead for our state and how we interact with one another. That concludes this article. We hope you have a great day.